Welcome to the Week 13 Double Doinkers podcast with Willie J and Nick Meyer. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody, or whatever you celebrate. We're going to talk defenses. We're going to talk our picks for the week. We're going to talk, a lot of things. And in case you're wondering exactly what's going on here and you're thinking, well, how come things sound a little different? I just got done with a pint night. So I'm going to go ahead and just get that off my chest right now. How are you doing, Willie?
I'm doing good. I'm getting a second wind here. It's been a long day, but I'm ready. I'm ready to not work again until Monday.
Yeah.
I'm ready to drive to Eugene and enjoy the traffic.
That'll be sick. It'll be awesome. You'll enjoy it. For what it's worth, and it's not worth much. Traffic wasn't bad today. But I wasn't on the 5, so
You're driving around Eugene.
Yeah, just driving around Eugene. It never gets that bad, unless there are like 3 major roadways in Eugene, and if any one of those gets messed up, then the whole entire town stops being able to drive. It's not that traffic's bad; it's that it stops.
Yeah, but people don't know what to do. Even though Eugene's a small enough town, they don't know detours. They don't know. It's bad.
Yeah. You just get stuck. Like it's always around the same time. It's around 3 p.m. Everyone goes to pick up their kid, and then someone does something silly. And if it's on the overpass coming off of Jefferson, anyway, I'm not trying to give people the whole rundown, except for
I did. I guess it's kind of moot at this point because it's over. But apparently, I heard today that the day before Thanksgiving, there is a 60% higher chance of car accidents.
Oh, good. I wonder. Do you think people are just like loose?
Well, we were talking about this, my coworker and I think that part of it is people are like stressed and in a rush, and also there's just more traffic in general because you're doing last minute shopping. So I think it's a combination of that.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense to me. I've always been lucky enough these last few years that like the day before Thanksgiving is either just a normal day or it's like the least stressful day. Like I had a lot of stuff to do today, but honestly, if I didn't finish any of it, that just meant I would have to try to remember it next Monday.
Yeah. Okay. There you go.
you know what I mean? Like, we'd get there. We'd get there. But instead, everyone who is here currently is spending the day listening to us talk about fantasy football, spending the evening beforehand, and I do appreciate that. So if you're out here, you listen to this at any point, know that I appreciate your time. Know that I really enjoy that you're here, and I'm thankful for you guys. Boom, there we go. I said it. That's the pint night speaking.
There you go. I'm thankful. I got to think about what I'm thankful for. Come back to me.
Is there one team on or one player on your most important team that you're personally thankful for?
Well, that's hard to pick one, but I am thankful for the return of Jalen Johnson's health. Mm-hmm. Sounds like he's going to play against the Eagles. Him and Kyler Gordon both, which is huge, like very huge. Like the Bears, have been obviously great this year, but it's really not an argument that Jalen Johnson, the cornerback, is the best player on the Bears. Like he's the only All-Pro player that we've ever had. That we've had.
I was going to correct you. That's all
right. And he's one of the best corners in the league, and him coming back against the Eagles is really going to be huge. And this team is already like the best ball hawks in the league, so it's going to be really interesting to see how much better it potentially gets.
I love that. Mine's not going to be about the Raiders because I'm not thankful for almost anyone on the Raiders. I'm thankful for the door that they have to touch when they leave the facility. Yeah. However, I'm going to say I'm thankful for Jason Myers, the Seahawks kicker, because if you have had him and you have kickers in your fantasy leagues, you know that all of a sudden the Seahawks are an unstoppable offense. They're just scoring every drive, but they're not scoring touchdowns every drive, which means Jason Myers is just soaking up points. He went from like kicker number 7 to in the last 4 weeks, he's kicker number 1.
I think that the fact that the unbelievably with JSN being there, but I think the Seahawks have like the second lowest passing yards per team, so they run the ball a lot, so they get points just by getting closer to the end zone, and then they kick it with Jason Myers. There's a logical reason I think why he gets so many opportunities. I was going to ask who's your favorite NFC team? I don't think I've asked that before.
For my favorite NFC team, I've thought about this a lot, and I don't really have like a favorite because my whole family was 49ers fans, and for whatever reason, that didn't stick, and so
Hmm.
I just kind of stayed out of the NFC. If my gut reaction when I hear that is the Panthers, and I don't really know why. So there's something about the Panthers I enjoy.
Black Cats.
Yeah, and I remember like when I was young, Jake Delhomme was in one of their Super Bowls, and they lost to Tom
Oh.
Brady, but it was like total BS. And I know that feeling of losing to Tom Brady and going, "That's total BS." So it stuck with me. So go Panthers. Uh,
I think my second favorite team is probably the Seahawks, but unfortunately, I think my favorite AFC team is probably the Chargers because of Justin Herbert.
I can't argue with it. Now the good news about the Chargers, they still haven't won a Super Bowl, so I don't have to worry about them as like an actual. This
Yeah,
is so unfair because they're such a better team than the Raiders. Like this isn't the good argument to have, but it's the argument I'm going with because it's what I got right now.
but it's like
So
the Bears. It's like the Bears and the Lions the past couple decades. Like we kind of have
mhm,
that kind of camaraderie.
mhm.
Yeah.
um, so okay, yeah, I'm okay. I'm gonna reset here for a second. So if we could do anything, there's a lot of things we could do, but we are gonna move on to injuries.
Fortunate.
So this is what happened in week 12, things that we should look out for. So first off, QB Baker Mayfield with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He hurt his left shoulder, it's an AC joint sprain, which leaves him questionable for this upcoming week. It looked a lot worse when it happened. And it was a weird one because when he threw the ball, it was the Tez Johnson touchdown, I do believe. He threw the
Mm.
ball and then he came back and he was just like grabbing onto it like someone had just killed him even though he didn't get hit. So if Baker Mayfield is the one who has that happening to him and is in invisible pain, something's bad. However, no structural damage, so it's kind of up in the air on what happens with Baker at this point.
There was a big maybe overreaction right after the game when you saw him on the sideline because it was in prime time, I believe. Yeah. You saw him on the sideline and he was in a sling already, and there
Hmm.
was people were
Yeah,
like, "Oh my gosh,
yeah, yeah.
it's
Hmm.
over," basically. And that coupled with the fact that we saw Teddy Bridgewater kind of play quarterback, that initial fear was pretty real. I mean, the Bucks losing was not surprising. How badly they lost was, I mean, pretty concerning. I've been consistently like, Baker's going to get better, like this offense is going to come back, but that game was abysmal.
So one thing that was seemingly true of Baker and is probably led into why the Browns eventually moved on from Baker is that he played through injuries almost to his detriment.
They,
Like he would
yeah,
look amazing, but then he'd get injured, and he would look pretty awful for stretches. But the stretches were always when he was injured and refusing to sit, so he couldn't get healthy. I
yeah,
have to wonder if he really did hurt himself at some point this season and just has not sat, is unwilling to. And what we're seeing is once again, when he's injured and he can't be himself, it all breaks down, everything around him.
yeah. It looks like you could probably go back. There was a clear game to game fall off in his play. I want to say it was like around the Lions game that this performance started to go downhill. And obviously, there's been factors with like defensive injuries, offensive
Mhm.
injuries, Todd Bowles, just in general, his play calling. But there was a substantial, like noticeable dip in quality, which does suggest he was probably injured before he was injured.
Yeah, and I'm trying to remember because I remember last game that he played that he looked really good in, but they lost is the Eagles game. But he also no, they beat the Seahawks,
So
and that was
yeah,
after that.
he balled out during that game.
And yeah, so it was either during the 49ers game or during the Lions game. So they beat the 49ers pretty handedly, but the Lions might have been it. And I do remember the Lions game in particular, he was overthrowing everybody.
Yeah. I remember that. So maybe he got like a late hit in the Niners game, and that was like the beginning of it.
And I do like blaming the 49ers. So the question that arises from this is if Teddy Bridgewater ends up playing snaps for the Bucks, how do you feel about Egbuka, Otten, Tez Johnson, Godwin, and Bucky Irving?
Not very good. Um,
Yeah, yeah, that's fair. Yeah, how can you really?
I mean, I think with Bucky, like if he comes back healthy, he's going to be the clear running back one. So even on bad offenses, that means something. And like I think Teddy's going to like if he has a running back that is good enough at catching checkdowns and passes, I could see him hyper targeting them because it just makes sense of his play style and his age. So I think Bucky's probably safe. His floor is lowered, but I would not worry about him if he's healthy, which sounds like he is, at least for this week.
Yeah, that's fair. I actually am not super worried about Emeka because I think when a backup quarterback comes in, especially one with previous experience, Teddy Bridgewater has played in the NFL quite a bit, even if it's been a little bit of time.
Yeah,
they know to just throw the ball at their wide receiver one over and over and over again if they really can't figure out what else works. So Emeka doesn't scare me. I would say like Chris Godwin, Tez Johnson. If Baker's out, you got to just move him off your board, even if you're like hurting.
yeah. There's no, especially if Godwin, if he's already injured, there's really no reason to expect much of anything from him. And I think to your point about the backup quarterback, I mean, like, yeah, we've seen that recently with Davis Mills and Nico Collins, and I think there was another example earlier this year with Marcus Mariota in that one game of Terry McLaurin where he was healthy. Like, there definitely was. Oh, and then of course Joe Flacco and Jamar Chase. Yeah, I could go on and on. So yeah, I that is a good point. I think that with an entire week to prepare, and not just getting thrown in there, Teddy Bridgewater could be reliable enough to prop up Ibuka. My concern of Ibuka is just that he's already looked bad the past few weeks.
True.
Nowhere to go.
Again, that Baker injury, I think, really hurts that offense. I don't know. It's just the thing about Baker because I don't think that the guy he was at the start of the season, where he looked like he was the MVP, to who he is now is the drop off from his actual skill.
Yeah, I agree.
It's either mental or he's hurt.
I think that was the case with the Browns in his fourth year there. I think it was also just the mental knockoff because of his injury, and then the Browns just gave up on him. So
yeah. There was you said the Browns gave up on him, and I just remembered during the Browns game, because I was against the Raiders, of course, so I was watching that, and I really shouldn't have. They kept going over to shots of the sideline with Deshaun Watson giving pointers to Shedeur Sanders, and it hurt my head so much that they're allowing this man to be near another young man and teach him his ways, because you don't want Deshaun Watson to teach you his ways. Trust me.
Yeah, and for a lot of reasons, honestly. Like
this is not fantasy related, except for maybe it is, because if Shedeur Sanders learns from Deshaun Watson in his current state as a quarterback, he's definitely destined to fail. But personally, get Deshaun Watson out that stadium. Come on, guys. Like, you can't start playing around with him coming back and showing up his face again.
He's not going to be playing at all this year. There's no reason for him to even be there with a clipboard,
No, and just I'm sorry. I know I'm going on a tirade about non-fantasy related things, but the broadcast kept talking about Deshaun as if he is not a serial offender.
Yeah.
It's crazy to me.
You couple that with just how much money they're paying him. It's just, maybe in a way, I don't think this is the case, but maybe in a way they just want to keep highlighting how much the Browns are idiots and are not ethical as an organization. So
like, you like what you're seeing right here. Remember, this is still what's there underneath the surface.
Say this with the Browns, yeah.
Maybe. Okay, I like that. Next injury, we'll talk about JJ McCarthy. So I don't remember this happening during the game. JJ McCarthy, I think, finished the game against the Packers, but he is almost certainly out week 13 with a concussion.
I think it was related to the scene off the field with, it involved Kevin O'Connell in a frying pan. That was the rumor I heard.
Kevin O'Connell. he just did the good old "I need to save my job," JJ.
That was just, I mean, NFC North bias aside, there's really none there with the Vikings per se. But man, I mean, that was just, I can't even believe how bad that was. I mean, his performance, like, he throw off 2 picks. The fact that he wasn't gaining yards on any of his passes or any of his rushes, it was just, it just really looked like not only were his mechanics terrible, but like it just looked like he didn't know how to play football. And not just, like sometimes you'll watch quarterbacks and they'll be like, okay, they hold on to the ball too long, or like, they don't read defense as well. It just seems like he was doing everything wrong. You couldn't point out one specific thing. I think for fantasy, the most egregious thing he's been doing wrong is just not targeting Jefferson for whatever reason.
Which, go figure, because of course Jordan Addison drops a donut on everyone who played him last week. So it's not even like Addison is soaking up all these targets. They're just, it's not going anywhere. Like Hawkinson, I think, had an okay game, if I remember right. But like Hawkinson can't be your main receiver when you got Addison and Jefferson.
Yeah, and I think part of it was maybe him just not passing the ball very much at all, which is maybe good. I think the most targeted player was Jefferson, but even that's still 6 targets when you're down the entire game just doesn't cut it.
Doesn't make sense. So of course now we're talking about Max Brosmer coming in, and Max Brosmer is not just the name of a race in the Elder Scrolls series. It is actually a person who is a quarterback. And this is it affects every single person on this team: Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison. As we spoke, I want to call him Alex Jones. Man, this is not right. Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones. I had to say it out loud to get it out of my head so I can get to the actual name. Aaron Jones Sr. Jordan Mason, if you could have anything that ever impacts that guy. And Hawkinson. So with Brosmer in there, here's the question I have: Is that better?
So first of all, Brosmer is a cool story because he's an undrafted rookie. Like, there's the Brock Purdy comparisons. He's kind of a smaller, shorter armed, weaker armed quarterback.
T-Rex quarterback.
But he's a hometown kid. He played for the University of Minnesota, so that was probably a big reason why the Vikings picked him up as a UDFA. But there's an exciting narrative there, and it's kind of hard to point to someone like Carson Wentz and say like, oh well, Kevin O'Connell's QB whispering didn't work on him, because Wentz was playing injured. Like, it feels like similar to Baker. It seemed like he was injured the whole year. So if Brosmer comes out there and looks great, here's what it comes down to, in my opinion: Kevin O'Connell's job, but also the GM's job, because he's gotten, he's had some hits with some players, but his past couple drafts have been really, really, really bad. And I think that in order to save their job, they have to win games, even if it's a mea culpa on JJ McCarthy. Like, they have to win games. So I think that Brosmer going out there and playing well, number one, it's great for fantasy. Number two, I think it could be a thing that we keep seeing.
And I think it really is important, especially for this image that Kevin O'Connell has as the QB whisperer, to have one of these quarterbacks show up and look amazing. Because Carson Wentz did look good in his first game, and JJ McCarthy has shown flashes every once in a while. It's been a minute now, but like they existed. He was the NFC Offensive Player of the Week 1. Don't forget. You can forget. I'm kidding. Go ahead, forget. But yeah, he needs a win. You don't think that he's like knows what he's doing with Max Brosmer? He's going to coach that guy up, and he's going to keep that playbook locked down. This guy's going to know 8 plays. He's going to know them perfectly, and they are going to abuse the heck out of them.
Yep. Because here's the thing that, okay, so say that, you want to get JJ McCarthy the reps. If you continue to trot him out there and he's playing poorly, like, you are doubling down. And if it doesn't work out the rest of the season, and especially if it doesn't work out next year, you're done. It's over. So you gotta, when you already have an established reputation as a great coach like O'Connell, you gotta take a step back and be like, okay, I gotta make a good coaching decision, not just not just trying to make my past choices look good.
This is such a bad week, though, to roll into this. Going against the Seahawks is not where you would hope. It reminds me of when Browning came in against the Vikings, funny enough, earlier this season, and he just got demolished. I could see the same thing happening here with Max Brosmer just getting demolished by the Seahawks, because with it, regardless of whether or not Brosmer could be a dude, this is a bad place to start being a dude.
Yeah. And if he does come out there and look good against the Seahawks, that only inflates the narrative of JJ McCarthy not being startable anymore.
So JJ McCarthy might borrow that frying pan, is what I'm hearing. Let's talk about Alvin Kamara. So he got a right knee MCL sprain. He's almost certainly out week 13. And at this point trying to avoid the IR, which is, when you hear he's certainly out this week, but also trying to avoid the IR, he's out
Okay.
this week. Let's just call it what it is. He's out this week and
Yeah.
probably next week as well. So you have Devin Neal as the only guy behind him because Kendra Miller earlier on in the season, I forget if he tore his Achilles or his ACL. It doesn't matter. He's out for the season.
Yeah.
So it's just Devin Neal, rookie. He's already been getting some play, and now he steps in to fill the shoes of Kamara, which haven't been that. I'm not trying to do analogies in a weird way. Kamara's shoes have probably been the same size they've always been, but
Yeah.
the role that he was in is a little worse than it had been in the past. They go against the Dolphins. The Dolphins recently have been pretty good against the run. So we might talk more about this later, but Devin Neal, I'm not in on.
Not this week. Not this week.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He was one of my favorite running backs coming into the draft out of Kansas. I don't really even remember why. There's so many running backs this year. But I think that he basically he showed like RB1 potential in college that could translate to the NFL. And this is not the week to experiment with that, but I think he's worth picking up if you have the room and you definitely need running back help. But he's a guy that, if he has a couple good games and then it's the playoffs and you really need a running back, throw him in there. Like definitely worth a pickup.
Yeah, I mean, at a certain point, you have to ask too: what's the purpose of Alvin Kamara continually being trotted out there?
Yeah, I think he's droppable.
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me to put him back out. Like Kellen Moore at this point should be like, let's see what Devin Neal's got.
Yeah,
Kamara, you sit, get ready for next year. Like I don't think that teams typically shut players down, but this is an area where he got hurt, so hurt to shut down makes a lot of sense.
And it's not a situation like Joe Burrow where he's the star quarterback who's getting paid millions and millions and millions of dollars. Like, and they have a sliver of a chance at the playoffs. Like, this is a team that is going nowhere.
Yeah, I mean, can you imagine if they decide to sit Burrow? We don't have to get into that. Yeah, well, no, not yet. Let's move on.
He's officially starting, so we'll get to that, but he is.
Yeah. Running back Ashton Genty had a left ankle injury. He got hurt in the fourth quarter. It didn't look super serious from what I saw.
It seemed like it did after impact, but then he was like walking, like kind of limping, but he was like walking okay at the end of the game. So that was something at least.
Yeah, I don't think it's been ruled one way or the other. Raheem Mostert is his backup. No, am I telling you to go grab Raheem Mostert? No. I don't have a lot of faith in that. I actually think Ashton's just going to power through this.
I think so too. I think that. Speaking of not shutting players down, like they're not going to shut Ashton Genty down if his injury's not serious enough to miss a week.
No, and with Chip Kelly out the building, I think
yeah,
everyone's probably going to be pretty happy.
Let's talk about this. Chip Kelly being out the building. Are you surprised as a Raiders fan that they would do it?
What here? Okay, I'm trying to formulate this answer in a way that makes sense and is logical as opposed to how I feel necessarily. So, does it make sense? Yes, that offense has been awful, and there's pretty clearly a reason, and that is not getting your 6th overall pick at all involved in the game, basically. But on the other hand, I'm not at all surprised the Raiders would do this. I'm still a little bit. I feel like this could be the wrong move, though. Chip Kelly has been awful. He's been god awful. But big grain of salt here. We have changed our offensive coordinator every single year for like 20 years in a row. And I mean, it's probably not exactly that, but it's pretty close at this point. And I just don't understand how anyone is ever going to get a mojo going. Whoever made the decision not to play any of the rookies, that's who should be fired.
Yeah.
Honestly. And if that was Chip, then fine. And it's not like I don't really worry about that. We need to get rid of these old guys anyways at certain points, right? Pete Carroll, Chip Kelly, they weren't the long-term answer. Chip Kelly's done awful things with an awful roster that continues to be awful. And, it sounded like here's the issue for me is Pete Carroll after not the Browns game, but the game the week before against the Cowboys. He said that he wanted to see what would happen if Brock Bowers was the driving force of the offense.
About time.
It's a stupid quote to start with, but like he said that the reason why they only gave Ashton Genty 6 runs that game was because they were trying to force feed it to Bowers. But
But
if Pete Carroll's the one who wanted to see what the offense looked like with Bowers as the driving force, does that mean Chip Kelly wasn't making the decisions? And all this really brings me down to is we can't keep firing everybody every year.
every year,
We
there's
we just can't do it. And I don't know that this is the step we need because I think that roster is just really bad. I still mad that the rookies aren't playing because if the roster is going to be this bad, just play the rookies.
Yeah, just go for it. Like I'm looking at the targets from that Cowboys game. I mean, it's a solid amount of targets. 12 targets to Brock Bowers, but just half of them were actually caught. So you think he would have the foresight to like switch up mid game if it's not working? But no.
I was like,
Or yeah.
the only player they were actually covering was Brock Bowers, and you were just like, yeah, but force it.
Yeah, well, okay. Here's an even crazier thing. I know that QB scrambles are factored into this, and it's a little bit more nuanced, but Genty had 6 carries and Geno Smith had 4. So they almost had the same number of carries. Like, what are you doing?
It was really stupid, but that quote has given me pause on who is at fault here. And the honest answer is everybody, but again, you can't tear it down. So I'm just trying to separate and compartmentalize my being a fan of the team and just like that part of personality, just throw it away for like the next 8 months at least.
At least.
So, anyways, don't pick up Raheem Mostert. I don't care if you're not the Genty owner, and even if you are, I can't see a path forward to him having relevance here. Yeah,
No.
even if there is the bump of them losing the offensive coordinator, I don't think it's a strong enough bump to make up for everything else sucking.
Yeah, I think it's enough to maybe get more optimistic about Genty and Bowers, but not enough to pick up somebody.
So we'll move to the next player here, and that is wide receiver T. Higgins. He got concussed on a very nice catch, so he is out week 13. I think he's already been ruled out. So of course we get Joe Burrow back, but then we lose T. Higgins. Jamar Chase is going to be there. I think we'll talk a little bit more about that later, so I'll keep it light on that. They've got a matchup against the Ravens, which was who they lost Kyle Hamilton, I believe.
They did.
Yeah. Which I don't bring up a lot of defensive injuries here, but that's a pretty big injury as far as defenses go. So the Ravens defense might be a significant amount worse.
Kyle Hamilton was having like not just an all-pro season, but like a season on pace with what Surtain was having last year.
He looked amazing. He was all over the field. He was even getting sacks. Like he was all over the field. So losing Kyle Hamilton makes that defense, in my opinion, a lot worse. And we saw at the beginning of the year a lot worse Ravens looked like, and that looked like a team that was bottom half of the league easily.
Yeah.
So on Thanksgiving Day, we get to see the Bengals take on the Ravens without T. Higgins. That stinks. Do you think that this just raises the floor of everyone else losing T. Higgins, or do you think that this? I guess let me ask you this question: outside of Jamar Chase, and who cares about Joe Burrow? If you have him, you're probably going to play him out of excitement and for Thanksgiving. Is there anyone else on this team that this opens up an opportunity for?
Chase Brown.
Yeah.
In part because we have Joe Burrow back and we know what Burrow and Chase did last year. We've seen Chase get better as a season. Chase Brown get better as the season continues. So I think that cautiously optimistic. I mean, there's a world where we see the Chase Brown that we saw the second half of the last season again.
I love it. He's been looking a lot better too. And just the fact that like the questions after the end of the game were going to him as opposed to a lot of other players.
Yep.
That's a good sign. That means he's like has some leadership in that locker room. That people like him,
Yeah, and he's there's no competition for snaps there.
And the Ravens had looked previously completely terrible, especially against the run. It's a good situation for Chase Brown. We'll move on here. Wide receiver DK Metcalf had a left ankle sprain. He is currently questionable. I don't know that it sounds like he's not going to play. One thing I'm worried about is Aaron Rodgers is returning, it sounds like. So if you have a questionable DK Metcalf and a returning Aaron Rodgers, this seems like one of those situations where two things are going to hit each other, and it's going to be bad for everyone if you play these guys.
My only thing there is that, well, okay, so I think it's going to be a big Jalen Warren game and Gainwell game because of the Bills' run defense. the Steelers need to win this game, and I suspect that Rodgers is going to have other targets he prefers over DK if he's on the field or
Mm-hmm.
not. But regardless, like DK has to be involved in this game if he plays because if the Steelers don't win this game, it's not over because of the division they're in, but it's a must-win game. So I think that DK he has that big play potential, but I would temper
Mm-hmm.
expectations.
Yeah, and so they're playing the Bills. And do you think that the Pittsburgh defense has the ability to hold the Bills not scoreless, but like they keep the overall score low?
Yeah.
That's what I worry about. It's Josh Allen yo-yo that we have going on right now with the 6 touchdowns to the 2 ints. It's just disgusting. I hate it.
Yeah, there was just the fall off, and with the six, it was the Bucks, which again shines light on how bad the Bucks have fallen off. But then against the Texans and the Steelers, I feel like our defense in the middle of the road between those two,
Mm-hmm.
so we don't really know what Josh Allen we're going to get.
I'll move on because with DK Metcalf, I don't think he's going to sit. I think anyone who's been playing him at this point consistently has to play him consistently.
Yeah.
That's just where we're at. I'm going to go through this one quick because we already talked about the Raiders. Michael Mayer had an ankle injury, which helps Brock Bowers because Mayer's the second tight end.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to move to that. We'll talk about we talked about Joe Burrow returning. Josh Jacobs is on track to play Week 13. If I was someone who picked up Emmanuel Wilson, and I am in a lot of leagues, I'm not dropping him yet.
No.
I think Josh Jacobs in this game is likely to just be a touchdown vulture.
Do you think he's going to be like a goal line touchdown vulture
Mm-hmm.
back, and then Emmanuel Wilson might get more carries?
Yeah, I do because I think Josh Jacobs probably is pushing a little fast to get back. Which fine, whatever. Josh Jacobs can do that, and they'll have opportunities to get touchdowns still. But Emmanuel Wilson, I think he looked good, so I don't see a reason to move away from him if Josh Jacobs isn't 100%.
And they were playing the Vikings last week, and this week they're playing the Lions, and the Lions defense has gotten better, but it's a little bit, I think, of an easier matchup, perhaps.
Bucky Irving seems like he's going to be back, which is awesome. I mean, he's been out since what, like week 4, week 3.
Yeah. Was he ever on IR? They just fumbled that, didn't they?
Yeah, it was something where I think the quote was that he needs to be able to take contact, and that isn't something that they can guess a timetable on.
Okay.
I'm not a doctor. I don't understand it. They did fumble it pretty hard, but Bucky Irving is coming back. That will help the Buccaneers.
Yeah, the Buccaneers.
The Buccaneers, and I mean because he looked awesome when he started, but he also ran way more physical than I thought he should for how big he is. He was running people over with his shoulder, and clearly that wasn't the plan. I hope they learn a little bit. Anyways, he'll be back if you have him. Okay. So the Buccaneers play the Cardinals. Do you just pop Bucky back in there?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll leave it at that. Trey Benson's coming back. It sounds like. Trey Benson is it sounded like, and then some of the headlines from today. This is Wednesday, the 26th, have sounded less positive. Like now he is having some issues again.
He's a limited participant at practice.
So I don't like having the needle pointing up and then also moving it back down. To me, that tells me there was a setback somewhere. His 21-day window's open, so they're gonna have to get him in a game.
Yeah.
Soon.
For playoffs, at least.
So if Trey Benson, I see that he's 8 weeks out from meniscus surgery.
Yep, it was at the beginning of October.
That's crazy. I'm sorry, time just like stopped existing for a second when I read that sentence. Like it can't have been 8 weeks since he got hurt. Okay, so if he's back, they go against the Bucks. That's a fairly okay matchup. It's not perfect, but it's okay.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, they can be strong against the run at times, but it doesn't seem to be very consistent. The thing with Trey Benson for me is that there's just no competition in that backfield that I would worry about. You don't care about Bam Knight. You don't care about Michael Carter.
I think Michael Carter's the only healthy one too.
So yeah, so I mean, if Trey Benson's there and you need a running back, and he actually ends up getting the start, play him.
Yeah.
And then Isaiah Pacheco is attempting to get back in. I hope that makes someone happy.
his mom.
Pacheco's list looks so bad since he broke his leg, and it's a shame,
The Chiefs need to draft Jeremiah Love or like do something next. I mean, you can't keep trotting out Kareem Hunt and being like, "This is our guy." Like, you're gonna lose in the playoffs if that's what you're doing. I'm sorry, like that. Speaking of guys of great character, like you, like he's old.
yeah. Well, the Kareem Hunt thing is crazy because it's kind of like, do they expect me to think that he learned his lesson after all this time? Like, because they released him originally not even because of the video that got out, but because he lied to them.
Yeah, and then
And
they
like,
bring him back.
whatever. Rashid Rice got hurt. He hurt his hamstring. But he was a full participant in Tuesday's practice. He plays Thursday. I sounds like it's fine.
Yeah,
It is something I would watch out for a little bit, although they play the Cowboys, so the opportunity's there. We'll see what happens. Am I missing any other big news?
Well, we can talk about returners. We can talk about Amari Hampton, his 21-day window opening, like a week ago at this point, I think. It's hard to say.
We'll talk more about him later too.
And then the other one, the big news that just came out today about returning is actually rather. Oh, I actually have. Okay, I'll start here. I have a couple offensive line pieces to talk about. So first,
right.
Frank Ragnow coming out of retirement because I think in part because there was an injury to a Lions interior offensive lineman, or maybe he just wants a ring, or maybe he wants more money. I don't know. Maybe he loves Detroit. All the above.
He needed to get out of his house for the Thanksgiving weekend.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, he didn't like the in-laws, and he's
like, I gotta go.
Yeah, his foot's feeling better, so he's back. That's cool. I mean, that's actually. I mean, we don't know how he's going to be playing, but his retirement was kind of shocking, not just because of his age, but because of how well he was playing just last year. So he has the potential to come back and be like a Pro Bowl level center.
Yeah, he could be very helpful to that team immediately.
And clearly they don't need it in the run game, but still, the more the merrier. And then the last big one was there was a rookie center and rookie, I think, right tackle, Will Campbell of the Patriots. Both got injured. Sounds like both injuries are pretty serious.
Yeah, it was Jarrett Wilson and Will Campbell. I did forget about this. The guard, I think, and the tackle, both left side. So the left side of that line just got destroyed.
And that's Drake May's blind side. So that's not good. There's really no other way to look at that.
That could have a significant impact on this team because Drake May right now is a deep ball specialist.
And that's because Campbell's look great. They both look great, but Campbell's look really great this year.
Yeah, and if you don't have the time to set up the deep ball, that leads to they're going to have to change the game, which will change his fantasy point output as well as the output of the receivers, or they are going to throw a lot more picks. I don't care which way around it, unless this guy is the next Aaron Rodgers, which Drake May has done well. Believe me. And I know I hate bringing up Aaron Rodgers as much as anyone, but he was the only guy who could get rushed immediately and throw a deep ball perfect.
Yeah, his timing being on point.
So Drake May will end up throwing more interceptions if that left side of the line is way more porous.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, it was late in the game, I think, and I mean the Patriots kind of struggled last week against the Bengals anyway, so we'll see what it looks like. They don't play until Monday night. If you have Drake May, obviously start him, but maybe
temper expectations. Yeah, 100%. And just remember last year what happened with the Patriots, and that was they had a terrible offensive line, and that whole team kind of just sputtered. Now Drake May was still startable, but it was a different version of startable than what we got here.
Very different. And their O-line, they didn't have Wilson, they didn't have Campbell, they didn't have Morgan Moses. I think at least 4 out of the 5 new pieces are new pieces on that O-line. So
that is an important one. Good call. With that said, that's all I have for the injuries and news for now. You want to jump into talking about some defenses?
Yeah, let's talk about some defenses.
Okay, take us away, Willie.
So it's week 13 right now. The playoffs are coming up, week 15. So at this point in the season, there's two types of teams. I think generally, I mean, to make it as simple as possible, there's the set and forget. There's the teams that have set and forget defenses, and the teams that have been streaming defenses every single week. So I do want to mention a couple of defenses that are set and forget that you've been playing every week that might have some pretty rough playoff matchups, and some that have some pretty amazing playoff matchups. And I think most people are in the boat of they're streaming every week. So I want to talk about some defenses that are maybe a bit underrated that you haven't thought about that are good to pick up now, and prepare to start them for playoffs week. And definitely, unless you are like extremely lucky of injuries, you don't want to be holding two defenses at the same time. But I think these underrated defenses I'm going to talk about have the potential to be good, not just for the fantasy playoffs, but for the next 2 weeks to actually, just pick up, start, and just keep there. Um, I did want to mention what I consider three of the best fantasy defenses right now. Um, Two come to mind, partly because they play each other and each other. They both have great offenses. Is the
Mm-hmm.
Seahawks and the Rams. So if you have these two defenses, barring maybe some mistakes that you've made by dropping them or not starting them, you're starting them every week basically. And they've definitely delivered. They're not, some of the best defenses in the NFL in fantasy, but their playoff schedule is pretty daunting when you look at what teams they're playing. I mean, first of all, they're playing one another, so that's a threat
Mm-hmm.
right
Mm-hmm.
there. The Rams playoff schedule I'm pulling up here is particularly bad. And there's really no way to look around it. I mean, this week they play the Panthers and then they play the Cardinals. So that's a good, you're already starting them, so that doesn't matter. Then we have Lions, Seahawks, and then Falcons. So for fantasy championships, that could be pretty good. But Lions, Seahawks to start off your playoffs. Again, your team is very unlikely to swing from a win to a loss based on the defense, but it's something to look at. And if you have had a lot of boom weeks because you've started the Rams defense, you might not have that those weeks, and that's something to talk
Mm-hmm.
about.
Yeah. I'll take a look at this. Like, so they've played Seattle once before. It was in LA. They had 4 interceptions to Sam Darnold, which I don't think is a repeatable feat, and they still only managed to score 5 points against them. So that was a phenomenal defensive game, and
And
it didn't lead to very much as far as points go. Like, 5 is not going to kill you, but it's also not what you're looking for as far as a top tier
no,
defense.
and they've had several like double digit weeks. I mean, they've been consistently like around 9 points every week, and they played the Seahawks offense. I mean, if they hadn't gotten any interceptions, that would have been like 1 point, maybe even 0 points. It's pretty rough. I mean, that's
Yep.
a big difference between like going from 18 points one week and then zero the next. That is enough to swing you from a win to a loss.
Well, if you think about it, so the 4 interceptions in most standard scoring defensive league, that's 8 points. And if they only scored 5, that means -3 on the points they allowed and the yard totals.
Yeah,
So,
that's
yeah. If Seattle had scored more points than 19, it would have even gotten worse. Now, the next game is in I want to call it Q Link. I don't think that's right. It's in Seattle. So that's probably going to be a much more difficult game as far as that defense goes.
yeah. I mean, they're going to go from LA to like the rain and cold in Seattle, so it's
Yeah, I'm not as worried about the Detroit game for some reason because this feels like one of those games that Sean McVay can really scheme against Jared Goff. They know each other so well.
it's true.
I mean, the running game with Gibbs and Monty could still go off, but it just depends. Who do you think wins the mental game, Goff or McVay? I'd put my money on McVay.
I would as well. And I mean, also a championship playing the Falcons, like Kirk Cousins will probably look better, but like that's a solid enough matchup that you're
Yeah,
gonna
yeah.
yeah.
If Kirk's out there, man, he has as good a chance of throwing 4 picks as anyone in the league right now. So
Yeah. And on the opposite side of things, the Seahawks, their fantasy schedule I think is a little bit rough as well. Where do they go here? The Seahawks, I mean, obviously they play the Rams, and I think the Rams offense is just your defense is not going to get picked off Matt Stafford. I mean, don't rely on that. Their offensive line's pretty great. I think they're still obviously startable because their matchups besides the Rams, they have the Colts, but there's some turnover potential there. And then week 17, they play the Panthers. So I think the Seahawks are a team that are going to be solid, continue to be solid for the fantasy playoffs. Um, Another team that I think that is kind of maybe hit or miss is the Broncos. Um, Honestly, looking at it again, I think they're pretty solid for the playoffs. You got Raiders, Packers, Jaguars, a lot of turnover potential. Or is that right? Nope, never mind. No, it's Packers, Jaguars, Chiefs. So next 2 weeks though, the Broncos play the Commanders and the Raiders. So probably two of the best starts of the week for defenses. And then it's a mixed, I think, playoff schedule for fantasy. But I think Broncos, Seahawks, and Rams are all teams that, if you have them, just continue setting and forgetting them. And then I picked up the Texans off the waiver wire somehow in my main league, and their playoff schedule is pretty incredible. Not only are they the number one ranked fantasy defense by a pretty solid margin, but they do have the Colts and the Chiefs the next 2 weeks. But I will sit through that in order to get the Cardinals, Raiders, and Chargers.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, Raiders, we don't have to talk about that. Chargers, like at times a great offense, but the offensive line being so poor, Justin Herbert continuing to throw interceptions, like I could see them. This Texans defense could absolutely sack Justin Herbert 8 times. I mean, they sacked Josh Allen 8 times, and he's even more evasive in the pocket with a better O line.
This Texans defense is just stifling, and it doesn't look like there's any reason for that to change. And I mean, you could even play them against Indianapolis and Kansas City. I wouldn't like hesitate. Honestly, I'll
Yeah,
be fine
yeah.
with it.
I mean, they have such a high floor and high ceiling. I think the lowest game they've had all year is 5 points, and they've had games with like 11, 14, 16, 14, 15, and I think they only have one actual um like one defensive touchdown on the year, and they're still number one. That's crazy.
So now let me ask you, Willie, do you have any like dark horse defenses that you are looking to throw out there that maybe are available because they've kind of stunk that might have a better go at it?
I do. I think so. One that I've been looking at is the Bears. So the Bears still lead the league in turnovers, and they're getting back their two top corners in Jalen Johnson and Kyler Gordon. So that seems like it's going to be consistent. They play the Packers twice. They played the Packers tough last year, and Jordan Love doesn't always look great under pressure. And then in the middle of fantasy playoffs, they play the Browns. So they seem like a very solid like pickup. They do play the Eagles this week, and then the following week they play the Lions. Is that right? I think. Yes. But still, you can still pick them up, start them the next couple weeks, maybe temper expectations, but then really I think set and forget them for fantasy playoffs. The Chiefs also their schedule is looking pretty good. I believe they play the Raiders or the Chargers twice. And I missed what other team they're playing, but they're a pretty solid. Their defense has been pretty middle of the pack this year in terms of turnovers and points, but they haven't gone negative all year. Obviously, the Chiefs presumably are going to be in games, so they're not going to be like getting. They have a solid enough floor with their defense. And then they have the Chargers, Titans, and then the Broncos. But I think that's a pretty solid lineup. So I would pick up the Chiefs, pick up the Bears, and my craziest dark horse fantasy defense to pick up. Oh, I do also want to mention the Browns and the Jaguars have been solid defenses. They're worth keeping and starting. If you're desperate, I mean, there's a likelihood that all these defenses we mentioned are already locked up by people in your league. I think there's one defense that I like for the fantasy playoffs that has been playing much better as of late. That I can almost guarantee nobody in your league has picked up already, and that is the Cowboys. Now they have Vikings, Chargers, Commanders in the fantasy playoffs. I think regardless if Jaden Daniels plays, the Commanders have been sloppy all year. The Cowboys have looked really good now. Admittedly, they did play against the was it the Raiders and the Eagles,
Yeah, yeah.
and their fantasy performance wasn't like incredible, but it was solid. Um, and I mean they still have Matt Eberflus, which is an L, but I think they have the potential to really continue to get better. I mean, they traded for Quentin Williams, and honestly, I think this team is playing in a way probably pretty hard for Marshawn Nealand and in his memory. And you could just see that again the past couple weeks. They just looked so much better since their
Mm-hmm.
bye.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're a fantasy defense that I was looking through all the ones that are not that are available in my league, and they stood out the most to me as one that I would want to start. So if you're desperate, pick them up.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. I'm worried just because of the quality of defensive or well offensive teams that they played against recently. But you don't have to pick them up immediately.
Yeah,
Keep an eye on it. Watch them this week again and see if they can play well, especially against Kansas City. Because Kansas City's a team that, like, they're not going to be able to shut them out. But if they can play well against Kansas City, then maybe going forward from some of those worst matchups, you can see the potential for it.
that's
And
that's the
it's
litmus test.
yeah, and it's important not to underrate Quinnen Williams because he
Mhm.
came from a bad Jets team. He's a really good player. Like, he's a really good player, and they had to trade up, or they had to trade for him. It was hefty.
Yeah.
He always got overshadowed by Sauce because Sauce has a cooler name, and he plays a position that overshadows, play. It literally shadows players. But
Yeah.
Quinnen Williams was a huge part of what made that defense so work in New York. So
Him and
there's
Sauce were the
reason.
two best players. I mean, that
Mhm,
was why the Jets blow up was so significant because I mean, not only was it multiple first round picks, but they literally traded away their two best defensive players. You never
mhm.
see that.
No,
So, yeah, I think the Cowboys. I think they're still in the dark horse playoffs. I think that they've looked really good, looked really really great against the Eagles. That comeback. So, yeah, I like it.
let
They
me
also
let me ask you about another team that might be available, just real quick. So one of the teams that I'm kind of interested in is the Arizona Cardinals.
let me
So
see
their
it.
defense that hasn't been exactly amazing, but they haven't gone negative all year. They've had a few weeks of double digits.
Mhm.
They did 16 against Jacksonville, and in the playoffs they get Houston,
Okay.
Atlanta,
Okay.
Cincinnati. Now Cincinnati is getting Joe Burrow back, so that might be a bad play for the championship. But Houston and Atlanta don't exactly worry me as far as offenses go. Um,
I would agree. I think that Arizona. It doesn't surprise me they haven't gone. It doesn't surprise me they have not gone negative. Because they've been in games, like, they haven't, like, really gotten blown out very much at all, so, um, I think that they're one that you could look at to start against the Texans and Falcons, and I think going up against, wait, who did you say is the fantasy championship?
Cincinnati.
Cincinnati, so that one is a game where it's very possible that the offense could struggle, or excuse me, the defense could struggle. But I think that the Bengals defense is so porous, or has been so porous, that I think it's with Jacoby Brissett under center. I think that they're going to be competitive like they have been in other games. And I think that Burrow protects the ball pretty well, but I wouldn't rely on that in a game that it's going to be a competitive shootout. I think they're going to be airing it out more. And I think it's a solid enough start against what could be a good offense.
Mhm.
I think it's a good pickup team.
Yeah, that's just one of those the few that when I was looking through these available offenses seemed to be one that wouldn't hurt you the most.
I started I started the Cardinals, I think the first 4 weeks of a season, and they didn't disappoint me. They didn't
Mhm.
blow up, but they never disappointed me.
Is there any other defenses you want to talk about?
No, I think that, of the ones we haven't mentioned, I would probably just be looking maybe to stream matchups if you could. There's the ones you set and forget, and there's the ones that I think are ones to highlight and pick up and start throughout the playoffs. But other than that, just stream against bad teams and hope for the best.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people picked up the Ravens defense recently. With that loss to Kyle Hamilton, as we said earlier, like I would be looking to pivot off of them.
And they didn't look great against the Jets. So what does that tell you?
Gosh, man. But he's not on any of our lists. I don't. Well, let me double check this real quick before I give away the whole bit. I want to talk about for just a quick second. What do you do? No, he is on one of the lists. Okay, I'm gonna wait. We're gonna move on. Let's talk about our picks.
All right.
Sorry, I wanted to make sure I'm not trying to steal thunder yet. First off, last week I'm just gonna go through mine real quick, if you don't mind, because I got it
Yeah,
pulled up. So my
hit it.
nuclear boys, Jameer Gibbs, that was the mother load. That was the mother load of all mother loads.
That was one of the
Jameer,
best fantasy games of all time.
he just kept running down the field and he never stopped the whole entire way. He ran longer and further than Forrest Gump did in the movie. He scored more touchdowns than even Hank Hill did in the fantasy in the championship. Whatever. Gosh darn it. I had a roll going and it's gone. It doesn't matter. Jameer Gibbs did amazing. And if you played him, you probably won. And if you played him and lost, I don't know what to tell you. Um
If you played him in
Justin,
one, I don't know what to tell you.
yeah. Yeah, right. It's like your team, you don't get a good reading of your team when one player scores over 50 points, almost regardless of format, like that's disgusting. But also awesome. It was fun to watch. Justin Jefferson, that was a miss for me. He only had 8 points under double digits. I wish I didn't still have some weird belief in JJ McCarthy in the back of my bones.
It's so overreactionary to label people as busts. Like it's I hate the discourse of like just so there's so much reaction in fantasy in the NFL, but I am starting to just give up on JJ.
How you can't look competent with this receiving core, and like a competent offensive line. It's not like he has one of these like terrible god awful offensive lines. It's like what's going on? I would say like, well, what does he need? Like a better running back? It's not important. It's just the thing is that this is the team that would be able to propel him. We saw it with Darnold. I don't know how long they give him. I think they draft a quarterback in the second round next year, and then they say win it.
Yeah, yeah, I think so.
My gas guys last week, Kenneth Walker, he did okay. It was nothing to shout at home about. Like fine. And then Hunter Henry, which was a hit. And once again, I'm going to remind you, if you have a tight end against the Bengals, do you have a tight end against the Bengals on your list?
No, I just want to say that last week you called him getting 2 touchdowns.
I'm just saying, man, like they don't, and Austin Hooper, I think, even caught one. Like they just don't understand what a tight end is. They don't get it. Like as a concept of a person, they're like, if he starts on the line, he has to stay on the line. He can't go out for a pass. It's not fair. And every single week they just get abused. Like, but here's the thing: don't fall for it. Player wise, like Hunter Henry is just the name I plugged in there.
Mhm.
I'm not saying now Hunter Henry's a top 10 play forever going forward. Yeah, he looked great this game, and he has had a pretty good season. But he's not this guy who scores 25. It's like Colson Loveland's full-on breakout didn't happen after he had a gigantic game against the Bengals.
Yeah,
He's looked better, sure, because that was like, hey, I have talent.
got his confidence up.
The Bengals literally just don't understand how to play against tight ends. And this is the thing. Every week you can. If you have Mark Andrews this week, hell, and excuse my language, children, if you have Isaiah Likely,
Whoa.
I'm going crazy here.
That's
Am I jumping ahead of something? But like Isaiah Likely scoring a touchdown because the Bengals can't figure it out. Anyway, I'm sorry. This isn't important to this part. Anyways, Hunter Henry was a great pick.
I just realized. I just realized though we were talking about fantasy championships, and the Bengals and the Arizona Cardinals.
Oh, dude, Trey McBride is gonna go thermonuclear in the championships. Oh gosh, okay. My gut checks were Darnell Mooney, which was a hit. I feel pretty good about that one. And then Shadur Sanders, which was meh to okay.
He's the first Browns starting quarterback or Browns rookie quarterback to start and win a game in 30 years.
That's real. That's real.
Yeah, you called that.
So stupid. Dude. The Raiders are an idiot. I don't even think that can apply to a whole organization, but they're just an idiot. What's his face? You'll talk about Quinshawn Judkins because him getting those wildcat snaps in the end zone and them just being like, "What are you doing? He's gonna run. I don't know how to stop him from running." Michael Wilson was one of my sits. Go ahead, just write me off on that one. That sucked. He was awesome. I guess I just underestimated Michael Wilson, or I underestimated Brissett. I think it was Michael Wilson. I just didn't think he could be the guy to put up 10 plus catches 2 weeks in a row, and here we are. He did it.
How do we feel about him? I mean, MHJ is out. He's looked better than Marvin Harrison. I've already seen reactions being like, "Oh, he's wide receiver 1 now." I want to see one more week.
Yeah, I don't think they can do that from pride standpoint.
No,
because MHJ was drafted 4th overall in a draft with amazing quarterbacks, and now they're benching their starting quarterback. Like I think as GM, there's a level of like admitting failure there that he should do in theory to make the team better going forward, but I don't think that he can do in the ability to keep his job going forward.
Yeah, okay.
But Michael Wilson has clearly had a better connection with Brissett and also been way reliable if you can catch 10 plus catches 2 weeks in a row, I mean that's disturbing.
I guess
So,
they are playing the Bucks this week, so that there's a route for him to have another good
hmm
game. So
hmm
perhaps startable, but I don't know. I'm just not going to buy into the fact that he's suddenly this become this elite receiver after 2.5 years, and he's been solid in real life football.
hmm
Um,
I,
I don't know.
I think I think if he's like my flex play and I'm just gonna keep him in this week. I just can't take him out after what he's done 2 weeks in a row. You gotta just like roll with it. This might be the time where it's wrong, but I don't think you can. The ability to score 20 plus points without a touchdown, it's
Something.
not something to take.
I will say I'm looking here, and his worst games of the year have easily been with Kyler Murray. So he's gradually gotten better nearly every week with Brissett. So
Swole Mike, he had some flashes before. Nothing like serious, but he had flashed every once in a while as being a player who could potentially do it. So maybe Jacoby Brissett's just the one who said he was the Robin Williams and Goodwill Hunting to Michael Wilson's Ben Affleck. I think I got
it's
that
Matt
right. I
Damon.
might be. It was Matt Damon. Thank you. Gosh, see,
Yeah.
I was.
No, no, no. It was both of them. They were both Ben and Matt.
But which one was the one who drew on the board? It was Matt, right?
I've never seen the movie, so
Okay, I think it was Matt. I think it was Matt. He was the one who drew on the board, and Robin was like, "Hey, you do that." It's neither here nor there. And then Michael Pittman Jr. was my other sit. That was a Michael Missman Jr. He didn't do great, but he didn't do terrible. So you should have probably played him in one of your slots.
Ben Affleck is Greg Dortch. We'll say that.
Yeah. He's out there like, you go, Mike. I told you everyone you had talent, and now they're finally listening. I don't know how well this analogy works. What were your picks last week?
My picks last week. So first, Nuclear Boys, Derrick Henry had one of his best games of his season. Again against the Jets, but also he just looked pretty good. And I think part of it was because Lamar looked pretty bad. It really seems like Lamar's playing hurt. So I don't know what that says for Derrick Henry every week rest of the season, but it seems like he's become the focal point of his offense yet again. So he went nuclear. Jalen Hurts went pretty nuclear, had one of his best games of his season. A lot of it was because, they were playing catch up after they were down so much, but he started off pretty hot. He had 3 touchdown passes. I think he put up like 30 points, 2 rushing touchdowns. No, maybe it was 2 rushing touchdowns, 1 pass. Regardless, he had a great week. Absolutely nuclear. My other guy was I hesitated to put him in Nuclear Boys, and I just decided to. He didn't quite go nuclear, but he had one of his best games of his season, that being Chris Olave. Um, he looked solid. He's been someone that I doubted going into the year, and he's been putting up points. So I'll eat my words. My gas guys, Caleb Williams, he had one of his best games of his season. Quinshon Judkins, again, 2 touchdowns. Dylan Sampson also had that crazy touchdown catch and grab. So, all the Browns running backs went off. And then disappointingly, my other gas guy didn't really gas it up, and that was Tyler Warren. It looks like the Chiefs let Michael Pittman be the guy. It wasn't terrible. He still put up Tyler Warren floor numbers, but
What was crazy is like at the end of the game when the Colts needed to score to get back into it because the Chiefs had, the Chiefs had come back and they had taken the lead, and then Indianapolis had to go down the field. You know how they did it is they just passed to Tyler Warren 3 times and it like looked perfect.
yeah, they should have done
There's
that
this,
more.
yeah, exactly. I'm watching this Colts and I'm like, this works so well. Can you just do that some more for me, please? Like if Jonathan Taylor is not doing the job, Tyler Warren seems to be able to do it just fine.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That game was so disappointing. They really
I
blew it.
I think there's like this negative relationship between Alec Pierce and Tyler Warren right now, which is weird. But like as Daniel Jones was worked in, Alec Pierce more, Tyler Warren hasn't fallen off, but it's just been a different sort of offense. Daniel
Oh, yeah.
Jones is airing it out a little bit more, which isn't great for Tyler Warren, and it also seems to be. Look, I'm not gonna say it. I am gonna say it. The Colts were like a perfect offense when they were just going through Tyler Warren. So Rich,
I
if I
mean,
can call him that.
run it up with Jonathan Taylor. If that's not working, past Tyler Warren. If it helps Daniel Jones avoid turning over the ball when he's passing to Tyler Warren.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly it.
Yeah.
Because you've seen the turnovers spike a little bit, not a ton. Daniel Jones still looked good, but he hasn't looked as good as he did in the beginning of the season.
Exactly.
Oh, okay, you can go on.
So yeah, that was Taylor Warren. My gut check starts. This was a little. So I said start Jalen Warren if he's playing. And he did, but you should have started Kenneth Gainwell, but you could have started Ivor because they both look pretty good against the Bears. Gainwell particularly had a great game. And then I said gut check start Jacoby Brissett. He didn't go quite as off as he had the previous few weeks, but he still put up 18, 19 points. I mean, Brissett's been really good in fantasy. Like I still don't know.
Super duper consistent right now too.
Super different. Yeah. Kyler sucks, I guess. Controversial sits. My only miss of the week was Jake Ferguson. I think that was partly because the Cowboys offense just really came alive in the second half, and Ferguson benefited from that. I think I'm just done doubting the Cowboys, so we'll go from there. And then my other controversial sit that I double, triple, quadruple downed on was not to start Sean Tucker against the Rams, and he put up a stinker despite leading the team in carries. I think he had like 12 carries, 5 points. Just not.
Rams just dominated the Buccaneers in that game. It wasn't even close.
No.
Like almost in no point was it close.
No. I really they were down by like 20 points at one point, 25.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's go with this week. I would say it was a fairly successful week. You had a really good week. I had an okay week. It's not my favorite. It wasn't my favorite, but all the same, I'm gonna go ahead and count having Jahmyr Gibbs, and there's like my win of the week for easy. But this week we're gonna try something different, and by that I mean we're gonna try to get all of them right.
All right.
Nuclear boy for me, CeeDee Lamb. And I do have a reason I'm saying this. I know they're going against the Chiefs. I know the Chiefs are going to try to take away their best player. But I also know that.
Whoa. George Pickens is their best player right now. I mean, we can't deny that.
Well, Brian Schottenheimer might. And
Okay.
this is the reason really why I'm making this point. It's because Brian Schottenheimer has come out and said so many things in support of CeeDee Lamb. He said that this week in practice, he's got that look in his eyes, like he's ready to dominate. He said when they were asked, like, well, CeeDee Lamb, he's a good player. And then Brian Schottenheimer stopped him and said, he's not a good player. He's an incredible player. He's just been talking up CeeDee Lamb. And, like, as much as that could just be coach speak and smoke screens or whatever, it doesn't work that way when it comes to wide receivers. If you're going to talk up a wide receiver like this, you are going to make sure he is peppered with targets.
Yeah.
CeeDee Lamb is elite. He's had drop issues. You can't at this point. I wouldn't say like his whole career is derailed with drop issues. This whole season hasn't been derailed with drop issues. This is the week he's going to come back because the Chiefs are a team that can beat him. They're going to need CeeDee Lamb, and if they're going to talk this much up, he better deliver. My second nuclear boy and my last nuclear boy for this week is George Kittle of the San Francisco 49ers. So they're going against the Cleveland Browns. That would be a team that is amazing against the run. A team with Myles Garrett, where you think that George Kittle is going to need a block more. Everyone's going to think that. This is the one where I think that George Kittle is going to sneak out and get him some nice volume and at least one touchdown.
Purdy is most consistent when he's throwing to George Kittle. Okay, well, besides checks down to CMC, but he's most consistent when he's throwing to George Kittle, and he threw 3 interceptions in the first half, and then he readjusted, and a lot of that was last week targeting Kittle. So I think that's a good point, because obviously the Niners are better than the Browns, but the Browns are going to play him tough, and Garrett is determined to get that NFL sack record, which is still crazy. I don't. I'm sure our listeners have been paying some attention, but and I think he has 17 sacks in 12 games, or 11 games, and the NFL record in the Super Bowl era is 22 and a half sacks. He's on pace.
He's gonna break it. Yeah, he's gonna break it. Even if you only went to the 16 games, he's gonna break it in that. So we can throw that argument out of the whole 17 game season. It's one of these things, and I've seen it a few different times. It's where one of these defensive ends has the season of their life, and the team still sucks. Can you imagine being Miles Garrett? I mean, you could. You're paid a ton of money and you're doing the best at your job as anyone. But can you imagine if you had that competitor spirit? You're just like doing everything, setting records, being like one of the best seasons ever at your position, and your team just can't figure it out. Harsh.
Harsh.
Deshaun Watson's on the freaking sidelines getting airplay over Miles Garrett at any point in time.
Miles Garrett and him are buddies, though. Miles Garrett is a sketchy guy. I don't know. He's not the.
Sorry, I go back to him. I'm trying to. I remember people talking when he hit Jordan Mason in the head with his helmet.
Jordan Mason, no, it was
Mason Rudolph with the other Mason, one of the Masons. There's not a ton of Masons out there, so he hit him in the head with a helmet. Everyone's like, he's an attempted murderer. Get him for assault. Suspend him for life. And I'm like, stop, guys.
Yeah, I remember that. It was an unintentionally very funny meme of Rudolph's face, just like.
Sorry, I didn't mean to derail the whole conversation again. We're here.
I did want to mention you. Oh, I was going to say that not quite. Garrett's been much better, but it reminds me of Brian Burns in the Panthers a couple years ago when he was just lighting it up, and the Panthers didn't trade him then, but he was like just incredible, and the Panthers were like 2-14.
Yeah. It's Max Crosby every year on the Raiders. I see
there
it.
You go. There you
go. Okay, you go. Who are your nuclear boys? Who you got?
So my nuclear boys this week are okay. Well, the first one, they're both pretty obvious, but I want to justify some here. So the first one is Jamar Chase going up against the Kyle Hamilton-less Ravens. First game back of Joe Burrow. He was suspended last week. Even if he was playing with Jake Browning, he has a chip on his shoulder from that suspension. The spit is dry and he's ready to play again. Burrow's back. Higgins is out. They're playing the Ravens, who, again, defense gotten better. Secondary is not the greatest right now. I can see him getting 18 targets for 200 yards and 2 touchdowns. And that sounds hyperbolic, but I really don't think that's the case because it's going to be a shootout. So you know that they're going to be passing the ball a lot. I think that Chase's game last year where he got 56 points was against the Ravens. I think the writing is on the wall for him to have at least 40 points this week. And that I would honestly predict that like he's going to get 40 plus points, which seems crazy, but I really think it's going to happen.
Real quick, I have to say that if this suspension had happened 8, 9, 10 months ago,
when they weren't playing football,
I know, but this is the meme lady, the spit on that thing lady.
Oh my god!
Really could have made a strong comeback. I'm just saying. Anyway, sorry.
Wow.
Go on.
If she hadn't done the crypto rug pull, and maybe she would have made a.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. She has to disappear from the public eye, but her and Jamar Chase could have been equally hated in certain areas of the country.
And then my other guy is Saquon Barkley. Again, I don't want to rag on the Bears' run defense. I could have done it all I want, but it's not great. It's not quite the Bengals against tight ends for sure, but it's a weak link on the Bears defense. And the Eagles have a great defense. Their offense is struggling. The Bears have a great offense. Their defense is struggling. I think this is all the makings of being a really high scoring game. And with Jalen Johnson and Kyler Gordon coming back, and I think Devonta Smith was just listed as questionable, the passing game is going to suffer with the Bears, with them playing the Bears. And I think that, Kevin Batula, I think is his name, the OC, he's fighting for his job right now. He's looked really bad. So I think that in order to save his job, honestly, I think getting back to basics and running the ball with Saquon makes the most sense. I think Saquon's overdue for like a massive game. So I expect a massive game from Saquon. I hope not massive enough for the Eagles to win, but I was seeing this meme going around of the Bears and Eagles coming to an agreement with the Bears winning and then the Eagles getting Kevin Patula fired and that kind of just being a fair trade. So I think it's definitely on the table that he is coaching for his job, and I think getting back to Saquon would make the most sense.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I mean, he's not big enough to replace Big Dom, so he has to win this game.
Yeah. I mean, if they lose to the Bears and especially if their offense struggles and they lose to the Bears, that's a wrap.
What do you think is higher, the amount of Saquon Madden commercials played during this game, or Saquon's yard per carry?
I mean, maybe the commercials because he's gonna
It's
have some long runs, but I mean, the Bears can stifle him on like second down. So,
and this is a game being played on Black Friday, so
oh God, I didn't think about that. Yeah, and then what's the commercial of him in the rain? Whatever. I tune it out. I can't even.
no, there's a lot that I can't pay attention to. I always watch that one because you're like watching Saquon playing as Saquon doing the backwards high, and I'm like, this is just goofy.
I can't.
It's too much. For what it's worth, I'm going to bet on the commercial. I'll go to that's all you have for Nuclear Boys, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to go on to gas guys. My first gas guy, I have a specific type this weekend. And it's a tight end.
Oh.
My first gas guy is Juwan Johnson. And you might argue he belongs in the gut check, but I'm going to argue opposite. The Saints are going against the Dolphins. The Dolphins have been porous against the tight ends. They've gotten better against the run. Chris Olave could still have a great game, but I think this is a game where Juwan Johnson is going to show out.
All right.
Have one of those good games where you're like, wow, Juwan Johnson still exists? Awesome.
He certainly did the first couple weeks.
And every once in a while, he's flash, and this is going to be the flash.
All right.
Enjoy it. Juwan Johnson. And then my second one is Travis Kelce against the Cowboys.
Okay.
Thanksgiving Day, you bet your bottom. Taylor's going to be in that stadium.
Oh yeah.
And Travis Kelce has, as much as I hate to admit it, looked better last few weeks. And against the Cowboys on Thanksgiving, America's game, Tony Romo's going to be announcing and talking all sorts of nice things about this team.
Yeah.
Travis Kelce's just going to have a great game. It's just what it is.
The narrative's totally there.
Yeah, it's there. It hurts me, but it's gonna happen. I'm pretty confident Travis Kelce's gonna be a great play. See, Juwan Johnson, Travis Kelce is my gas guys.
Nice. Those are bold, but I like it. My gas guys this week. First up, one it's the Bengals, one it's going to be a shootout, but we need a bounce back from Lamar, and he struggled against the Jets. He struggled against the whatever the other team was he played the week before. He hasn't just struggled. He's looked like bad. He's like Bryce Young fantasy numbers bad. So I think that if he's healthy, which it sounds like he is, at least on the surface, this is the game to get right. Not just because it's the Bengals, but because it's a rivalry game, and it's going to be a shootout. Lamar, he's going to get it done. I think I could almost put him in Nuclear Boys. I wanted to put him in Nuclear Boys, but he's been so bad the past couple weeks I couldn't do it. My next guy is going up against the Raiders. I think the Chargers will get up early, but I expect them to still target their best offensive player to maintain that lead. And I think Ladd McConkey going up against the Raiders feels like a safe play. I think that you could also look at Gadsden this week. I think Gadsden's a good play. I'm still hesitant on going back to QJ and Keenan Allen, but the Chargers had an awful game against the Jags, and they need to bounce back. They're coming off their bye, going up against the Raiders. It feels like a good Ladd game. It's a gut check, but it's a gas guy gut check. And then my last one is someone I'm really feeling this week, and that's RJ Harvey against the Broncos. I think this is his first game back.
Wait, against the Broncos?
No, against the Commanders, even better.
He fights Sean Payton.
I think this is his first game back since J.K. Dobbins has officially been ruled out for the year. Going up against the Commanders defense, that's enough said right there. But he has shown some extremely high flashes, especially in PPR. He's great at pass catching. I think, like I predicted, I think the Broncos are going to really retool their offense. And I think a part of that retooling, besides hopefully getting Cortland more involved, is to really get RJ Harvey out there as the premier back, because he doesn't, they have Tyler Batty, somebody else maybe, the Jaleel McLaughlin, but this is RJ Harvey's backfield. I think coming off the bye, he's going to be confident. He's going to go up against the Manders. I think that he's going to have a great game.
Yep. That makes a lot of sense to me, honestly. Okay. Any more gas guys?
That's it.
All right. I'm heading over to my gut checks. My first gut check is going to be and this is a cheat as a gut check. I'm going to admit it. I chose 3 gut checks because I chose this one. Josh Jacobs. He's coming off injury, short week, going against the Lions. Those are all kind of bad setups for Josh Jacobs. However, and this is just full on narrative blown choosing here is that Josh Jacobs wants to eat that turkey. So my gut check isn't just you should play this guy. He's going to do good even based on all these factors, but it's also a pun because his gut's going to be full
Nice.
at the end of this week. All right, did I get there? I think maybe I got there.
Oh, we were deprived of Tucker Kraft or Sam Laporta eating the turkey. That sucks.
Yeah, it does suck. Brock Wright's out too, so
like no tight end. Who's eating?
It's they're gonna make Isaac Tesla the tight end,
okay.
and he's gonna have some coleslaw. There's something there, but I'm not gonna work into it anymore. Next player is gonna be Jaden Higgins of the Texans. They go against the Colts. The Colts did trade for Sauce, and I think that makes bad news for Nico. However, Texans are gonna need to throw it to someone because the Colts are gonna find a way to score somehow.
Stroud's back, right?
I believe so.
Yeah.
He's either back or he was trending towards being back, something of that sort. But I just think Higgins is going to be the only guy on this team who has potential really to score a touchdown. I'm not super excited about Collins against Sauce, and I'm not super excited about Woody Marks against the Colts defense in general. So Higgins is the one. I was juggling or flipping a coin between him and Noel because I still think it could be Noel who scores the touchdown, but it's gonna be one of these two, and I'm gonna put my money on Higgins.
Higgins has looked good, definitely.
And then my final player that I'm giving you is Darnell Mooney. We're going back to the moon. Drake London's out. Kirk Cousins is in. They're playing the Jets. The Jets have had some signs of life recently. So I don't think the Falcons can just run the ball down the throats of Algier over and over and over and over and over and ad nauseum. They'll try, mind you, but Darnell Mooney's going to get involved somehow, some way. And even if it's just a PPR play, Darnell Mooney's going to be a fine play. Throw him in again.
He's been healthy. I mean, he looked bad at the beginning of the year, but he was not playing healthy. So I think that we can see him, especially if Kirk Cousins. I think we can see him going back to what he looked like last year.
Mm-hmm. And this is just I had him on this list last week as well. I just think him and Kirk with health, it's a fine play. It's not really great for the Falcons. It's not like a winning matchup, but for fantasy, it's a fine play.
Yeah, I agree.
Hit me with your guts.
All right. So first up, I got gut checked a player who's like slowly emerged as a wide receiver one on this pretty ambiguous offense. And somebody that has not only emerged as a wide receiver one, at a good time, but like he's come back from injury and he's immediately kind of like looked really good. Like he's had every game he's had since he's been back, he's looked good. It's going to be in prime time. It's going up against a banged up Lions secondary. I think Christian Watson is going to continue his ascent as a fantasy relevant player. He's had a couple really good games. I think that I've heard rumors that Jaden Reed might be back this week, but that doesn't really faze me. I think he's going to be on a snap count. I think Matthew Golden maybe is back, but he also probably could be limited. And obviously there's Romeo Dubs, but I think this is going to be a bit of a shootout. I think the Packers offense is going to maybe come to life more than we've seen in recent weeks. And I like Christian Watson as a good flex play this week. Similar to the Darnell Mooney start, I actually have a gut check of Kyle Pitts. I don't know. I just have a good feeling he's going to get a touchdown this week. And I think we saw some signs of life with Pitts last year with Cousins. Not much, but like compared to what we saw of Desmond Ridder, it was something last year. So really just a gut check. I think he's going to have a good week. And then my last gut check is basically if Trey Benson, we talked about this, but if Trey Benson plays, start him.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, maybe that's kind of obvious, but I mean, it's been 8 weeks and the Cardinals aren't the greatest offense or haven't been earlier this year, but I think that if he plays, he's going to get a lot of volume.
All right, now we're going to go into the unfortunate part of the podcast where I'm going to tell you to sit some players.
I got some.
Yeah, lately this has been an area where, well, I'll just get into it. So the first one I'm going to name is someone who people are going to be excited to plug into the lineup because he's back, but I don't think this is it. I'm saying Omari and Hampton shouldn't be plugged in right away. I think he might be on some sort of a pitch count a little bit just to get him in there. And Kamani Vidal has been good enough and has been talked about as a 1-2 punch that I think you should temper your expectations. Could I still see him scoring a touchdown? Sure. They're going against the Raiders. The Raiders' run defense isn't the worst part of their team, but they also just aren't a good team. So there's a chance that they just give up the ghost. Don't know what's going on. Just fall apart. However, I don't think that Omari and Hampton is a slam dunk certified top play that you would hope he would be this week coming back after missing everything. My second one, and this is one that's unfortunate, but it's also because we talked about those injuries earlier. I almost missed those, but it is important, especially going against the Giants, is Travion Henderson. Travion Henderson has turned around his season pretty significantly in these last few weeks. He's looked much better than Ramondre last week. Ali Oodle's better than Ramondre last week. Ramondre looked awful, got stuffed at the goal line over and over and over again. But losing your left tackle and your left guard is bad for your line. It is very, very bad for your line.
Especially for a rookie.
Yeah. So this is one of those things where if he doesn't break big, he's not getting anything. And the Giants just fired their defensive coordinator. They're going to get that bump.
Yep.
It's just it's a bad scenario for me. I can just see Travion Henderson coming out and stinking it up. And that doesn't mean someone else is going to step in his place and do great. I don't think the running game for the Patriots is going to be very successful at all this week.
I think it's fair to say that Monday night will be the worst O-line Travion Henderson has played behind since his senior year of high school. Because he played Ohio State, 3 years at Ohio State, routinely some of the best offensive lines in college football, a lot of future NFL players. And then this year he's had a great O-line. Now he's down two of the best players. I don't think he has not had an O-line this bad relative to the competition in the area.
And that's say what you will about the Giants, and they did just fire the defensive coordinator. They have a wonderful D-line.
Yes.
Like, this is a bad time to lose two of your best players on the line. It's going against this defense.
Counterpoint, Jahmyr Gibbs last week, but Shane Bowen is awful. He was a really bad DC, and I agree. I think they're going to get a good bump this week.
Yeah, and I also don't expect, like, the Lions and the Patriots are just two different teams. Like, you have to go out and you have to cover Jameson Williams. You have to cover Amon-Ra St. Brown.
True.
You should, and you probably have to cover Stephon Diggs, but past that, like, putting the extra person in the box seems like the logical next step past that to me. So I don't know. I'm not a defensive coordinator. Neither was the guy for the Giants until this week. But like I just, it feels bad for me. So I'm gonna stick with Travion.
I like it. So my controversial sits, one obvious, one maybe crazy, but screw it. My first one, this is just kind of, in most cases, you would say sit the quarterback playing the Texans defense, but it's almost like to the point where it's all cases because Josh Allen looked abysmal last week. Daniel Jones, you think Daniel Jones is going to play better than Josh Allen against this defense? I don't.
Only in the chaos theory universe of football, which is possible, but
certainly possible, and it's a divisional game. I think he's got a chip on his shoulder after the Chiefs loss, but I think even if Daniel Jones plays better than even last week, I think there's solidly probably 20 quarterbacks I'd play over him, at least this week. So I think that's enough to probably sit him and look elsewhere. And then my last controversial sit is every single Vikings player, including Justin Jefferson. And I'm not just saying that to be like, oh, you maybe should sit him too. I mean, I would really pivot and just not start him this week. If you're a team that has two really good wide receivers and you have a solid flex play that's better than Jefferson, like I mean, I don't know, man. I against the Seahawks defense, one of the best defenses in the league, one of the best secondaries in the league, not just going up against the Seahawks defense, they're also going up against Sam Darnold.
Yeah, like I compared this earlier to when I'm now, of course, spacing it, when the Bengals played Browning against the Vikings, and the whole team just did terrible, and they got demolished. and they could get nothing going. And this does remind me of something similar right now. The Seahawks, who had been just a dominant team for weeks in a row, lose to the Rams. And that was, 2 weeks ago now. And then last week, they come out and they barely beat the Titans. The Titans looked like they could have won that game. I think the Seahawks are going to be hungry. And Brosmer's going to walk right into just you call it whatever version of just doom that you want to call it, but it's going to be bad. And when it's that bad, it's not good for anyone. I'll give you my line where I'm at right now. I'm starting Parker Washington over Jordan Addison.
Oh yeah, I would see. I wanted to emphasize every Vikings player because I mean Jordan Addison isn't going to put up a donut every week, and honestly, Brosmer could be much better than McCarthy, but this is the kind of game where you just don't want anything to do with his offense. It really doesn't matter. And I think Addison. I mean, and that was the point. Also, is that the Seahawks secondary specifically is so good. So it's you want to double cover a guy like Jefferson with Devon Witherspoon and Kobe Bryant, but you also got Reek Woolen, who's shown a lot of flashes in the past. He can cover Addison. Like you can double cover Jefferson and still have a guy who can go one-on-one and beat Addison. So it just there's really no upside, and there's a lot of low floor this week.
Yep, agreed. Sick. So there's our picks. Let me. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody! And if you don't celebrate Thanksgiving, you celebrate an alternate version of it. Happy that to you.
Happy week off, maybe, unless you work. Happy like Friday afternoon after working retail. If you're doing Black Friday and you work retail, just make that your happy place. Like, can't even imagine.
100%. Yeah, no. When I did it, it was terrible. I'm curious if someone hears this, if it's gotten any better since Black Friday has started in like the first week of November online.
Cyber Monday has probably helped something. Yeah. But then you got the Amazon workers just like struggling. So really, somebody losing.
I hope someone who is making so much money for one of the owners of these companies to find a way to enjoy their day in a good way, in a healthy way. And also good luck to everyone who listens to this in your fantasy football week.
What's your game of the week, Nick?
My game of the week, so for tomorrow I'm looking forward to Packers Lions.
Okay. I'm looking forward to Bengals.
Honestly, all three of those games look really good because the Chiefs Cowboys is interesting. Bengals Ravens should be awesome. I just know on Thanksgiving I have such a hard time watching the evening game. It just is never worked out.
Yeah, it's not.
But past that, this is silly because I want to see this. I'm actually curious about the Saints Dolphins game because I want to see on these two little like mid teams, mid bad teams, right? Who can be for real and who can provide me value the rest of the season? Because I think there's someone out there. Like I want to see, is Devin Neal gonna actually do something for me?
Yeah. Is Darren Waller coming back? Did I imagine that?
Not this week, but next week probably. I did pick up Darren Waller in my main league because they played the Bengals.
Okay, there you go.
I forget which week they played the Bengals. It might be championship week. No, they played Buccaneers championship week, but they played the Bengals week 16. So if I can make it there, you bet Darren Waller's getting plugged in and score me 40 points, dude. I swear.
I think, lack of bias aside, I think the Bears-Eagles game on Friday at noon is going to be really exciting. Apparently, I don't know if it's on Amazon Prime, and apparently it's like being streamed to the entire world or something. There was like some weird gimmicky thing they were doing, like they were making it free. I don't know. I'm losing it, but it was something like that. So it's going to have a huge audience. I know that.
This begs the question as an ignorant American for me to ask: are the people with Amazon Prime out there who can't watch Thursday night games because they're in a different country?
Honestly, I think maybe it was something like that. Maybe if somebody out there knows, it was like it's going to be streamed for free or something. I don't know.
They need to just make this easier to watch the gosh darn games.
Yeah.
Anyway, enjoy whatever it is you enjoy. And if you work for one of these megalithic corporations, recognize you are the one making the money and that you deserve to be celebrated.
Yes.
And that's not the point of this pod, but it is also enjoy